Trump is encouraging a boycott against Harley-Davidson, the motorcycle company. He writes, many Harley-Davidson owners plan to boycott the company if manufacturing moves overseas. That is great. And the president's tweet followed a New York Times piece that highlighted Harley owners who say they're angry with the company's decision to shift production of the bikes that it sells in Europe to Europe. The reason that they're doing that, Harley-Davidson says, is because of the retaliatory tariffs on steel and aluminum in retaliation to the president's own tariffs. So Chris Cox is with me. He's the founder of Bikers for Trump. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I know you're supporting a boycott of Harley-Davidson. Why?
Well, there are many reasons. At this point, boycott's a little of a harsh word. Bikers really don't like that word. If we had our way, we would help Harley-Davidson reinvent that company and get it back to its American roots, to remember the veterans, the blue collar, and it's people that's kept them afloat all these years. And many times they were in turmoil, and we stuck with them. And now we need them and all other companies to stick with America.
Well, as you know, because you've been following this so closely, the reason that Harley-Davidson writes in its SEC filing as to why it is moving productions of just the motorcycles it sells in Europe, moving those over to Europe, is essentially to stay in business. I mean, it's going to cost them millions and millions of dollars, up to $100 million, even before they move that part of the business. They want to stay afloat, and they point directly to the president's tariffs and the retaliatory tariffs on those as the reason that the cost just became too high to create those bikes in this country anymore. So is it the president's own fault?
No. Let me shed a little light on that. Harley-Davidson's been planning this for some time. About 7 years ago, they bought a motorcycle company in Europe. Several years later, it went belly up and cost them millions of dollars. One of the only things left from that botched deal is Matt Levovich, I believe his name is, and with his European ties. And so if they were just thinking about this, why have they had a CEO with European ties in there for the last 4 years? Not to mention, they took, I think, over $2 billion in 2008 in the government bailout. Not to mention that Warren Buffett bailed them out. Not to mention that the AMF...
I'm sorry, hold on. There's a lot of assertions that you just made about bailouts, and I'm not sure what you're talking about. Warren Buffett bailing who out?
Warren Buffett bailed out Harley-Davidson at one point. He was later criticized, and you don't find a lot of criticism going against Warren Buffett, but had he not accepted the payment back, it would have been one of the most lucrative deals that he ever made.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So I'm unfamiliar with that, but getting to the substance of it here, this is a regulatory filing where Harley-Davidson talks about the fact that its business would not be sustainable. It says it is the only sustainable option to move this production, which is what a lot of automakers do. As you know, they make cars in Europe that they sell in Europe, or they make cars in Asia that they sell in Asia. This is not the first company to do that. Case in point, I mean, you sell these Trump T-shirts, right? Did you bring one with you?
Well, no, but your producer asked me to send one. I was very happy to. I think you're getting your information from the New York Times, which forgot to mention that our staple is our patch. This is made in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Yeah.
For us to sell T-shirts that are made in America really just is not very affordable for the bikers.
Well, that's an interesting point, right? Just so people know, the pictures we're showing you on the side sell Trump T-shirts, Bikers for Trump, but they're made in Haiti. And you told the New York Times the reason that you have to make them in Haiti is because it's unaffordable to make them in America, that it costs too much. So, I mean, isn't that doing exactly what Harley's doing?
Like Harley-Davidson, Bikers for Trump was born in America. We weren't born, we don't survive on the blood, sweat, and spit of the American blue collar and the veteran who kept them afloat for so long. Let me tell you a quote with you that Matt Levovich said in a financial publication shortly after the RNC was in Washington and Cleveland and the DNC was in Philadelphia. He came out and said, quote, "I don't feel like either party has much to offer, and quite frankly, the Republicans are leading the crazy train." This is coming from a CEO that is running a company that was built on the blood, sweat, spit, calluses, and scabs of American hard workers. So it just goes to show you how out of touch he is.
I am unfamiliar with that quote, and I've read a lot about him in this and have not seen it. But let me read you something else that the Harley-Davidson CEO said after making this decision. quote, "We worked very hard to be apolitical in how we approach our business and our consumers everywhere in the world. We have to do what we have to do based on the facts and circumstances before us, and we are doing that." Let me ask you this. If Harley-Davidson were not to move the production of European bikes over to Europe, and it cost the business so much that it was not able to sustain nearly the amount of jobs that they hope to retain here in the United States, then what? If they don't move the business, they say that it's unsustainable to be operating the way it is. Are you concerned that that could cost even more American jobs, frankly?
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That's why we are here. We are here for the owners of Harley-Davidson dealerships, and more importantly, we're here for the mechanics that work at Harley-Davidson, the front office, the back office. If Harley-Davidson was to come up with an ironclad severance plan that was just a sweetheart deal in the event that things go wayward, then it may be a little more easier to support them. But at this point, after the comments that he made about the Republican Party, and having not done his own work, Bikers for Trump were already a political phenomenon when he said this. We were already making more news in the political news cycle than just about any demographic. So it just goes to show you how out of touch he is. We would urge the shareholders at Bikers for Trump would urge Harley-Davidson to reconsider their leadership and to try to identify someone within their ranks that can get their ideals back to the American way, so the American biker, the veterans, and the blue collar can help reinvent that company. But for them to just pick up and move out of this country when our president is trying to give us an equitable, clean slate so that moving forward, Americans and American companies will not be taken advantage of, this is a no-brainer for us. We've stuck with them. Now they're going to either stick with America or they're going to, they're going to have some bad news ahead.
Chris Cox, let us know when you have the source of the publication that the CEO, you argue, made that comment to. It'd be good to see it and share it with our viewers. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. So